My name is Edward Kian, but I go by Ted Kian, which was my name as a sports journalist nickname, but my official name is Edward. I am a Dr. Edward Kian, and I'm the Welch Bridgewater Endowed Chair of Sports Media at Oklahoma State University, where we have the largest sports media major in the world. And kids, about 215 majors, pre-majors, and they come from 38 different states to come to Stillwater, which is sort of in the middle of nowhere. We do offer big-time college sports, and I do want to thank Sandy Alsbish and Ferris State University for hosting this conference. It's a wonderful place, and to do it here in Grand Rapids it's been very grateful.
Share how you came to be involved with the International Association for Communication in Sport.
Yeah, I think some of the other folks you've interviewed are probably the ones to talk about the formation of IACS. I attended the first one as a young faculty member. I was at the University of Central Florida doing sport media research. That was the area that I worked in. So obviously it was the area to interest me, and found out about this conference, I guess, through one of those email calls, and went to the first one I went to was in Cleveland. In fact, I came up a day earlier, went to the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, made a pilgrimage there, and then met a few other people that were like me, interested in it. At that time, there were a few people that started the conference, and then it was pretty much a bunch of young scholars and graduate students, and it wasn't as respected because it was, starting up. The organization has grown now to where you're seeing people coming in from all over the country, and increasingly more people from all over the world. We've got a lot of scholars here from Europe, and a couple in the last couple of years have come from down under. When we were in New York City, we had a few more come in from across the world, But I have gone, so I guess this is the ninth one. Next year will be the 10th in Phoenix. I started going at the fourth one, and I've been to every one except for the one in Peoria, Illinois, since then. And it's a great group of scholars, because the thing is, these are people that are interested in sport communication, media, journalism, and there was no other conference of academics that are specifically interested in that area. That's a small niche area. So Ferris State now has a sport communication program. Not many schools do. And that's why it's good to find. And a lot of these scholars here, they'll teach a course or two maybe in sport communication media, but they're housed in different areas,
What do you see as the strengths and opportunities of this organization?
I think part of that is what the idea a lot of schools don't have this is providing a networking place and an area to share knowledge and exchange knowledge from people, especially folks that that are lone wolves, if you will, at their universities, where they're the only person interested in this subject. And another strength is because we're all researching in different areas. I work at a practitioner school. The idea is we're training kids to work in television, newspapers, online sites, social media, radio, etc. Others here are in sport management. They're in business programs. Others are in sociology or gender or sports studies or communication studies, where it's more theoretical and scholarly. But we can all take from our areas of what we research, what we study, what we teach, and exchange, and you become more knowledgeable. So like they're doing research on fandom, all right, and that's not my area. I don't know much about it. So my idea of sports fans is what I knew as a journalist and what I see on television. But then they're doing surveys to find out what makes people click and those kind of things that I learned from that. And so that's the beauty of it, is that we're all interested in the same area, but sport comm is still a huge area that that there's a lot of different subsets underneath it.
What do you see as the challenges the organization faces?
The challenges the organization face is that there aren't sport communication programs the way there are for much bigger fields like journalism or sociology or even sport management, where you directly say, I got my PhD in sport management. And so there's a much bigger conference for that, where, if you are at a university and there's 7 sport management faculty, you're expected to attend this major conference. Well, as I said, if you are, I'm at one of the few schools where we have multiple sport media faculty. If you're at a school where you're researching or teaching this area and you're the only one, you're not getting that much incentive or support to go to this conference that is smaller, that people haven't heard about, right? So that's one of the challenges. So a lot of times people, faculty members, teachers have to take their own initiative. The other one, and it's sort of a bigger problem with sport communication, academia, and research in general, is tying it to the profession. We had that panel yesterday with the folks from Grand Rapids and other minor league sports in Michigan, and that was good. And we had people in New York. We had a similar panel, The reality is, though, this is predominantly an academic conference. I mean, if you've been to it, the research, some of them get very down to the nitty-gritty on research, and if you're an undergraduate student, you should really have no idea what they're talking about, because I certainly wouldn't have, right? And the problem is relating it to where it fits a broader group of people, students that are interested in it, but more importantly, people in the industry, where they don't think these are just a bunch of high and mighty academics talking about stuff that no one knows about or cares about, but to tie it in. And my hope is that we continue to get more industry professionals, bringing them into this conference, and hopefully get some of them to become involved in the organization. Because as long as it's just academics, I don't see it growing that much. But as soon as you get some industry people involved, rather than just coming to guest speak, but actually more involved in the organization, then it could really take a life of its own, and that's where the potential lies.
What would you like to see the organization do as we move forward?
Just what I just said about getting more industry folks involved. Obviously, continue to bring in people from different disciplines who research. Because see, in sport communication and academia, as I said, they're predominantly researching it teaching it out of different areas: journalism, mass communication, sport management, sports studies or sociology, gender studies maybe, and in some cases like communication studies, media studies, which are theoretical and not really teaching you skills. All right. So we draw from all those areas, all right, and keep expanding the pool of that, and try to give this discipline its own voice, because too often it's seen as, in all of those areas, sport communication is seen as a peripheral area. So in sport management, it's on the outside of the business courses. In journalism communication, it's always called the toy department. If you work in sports and television or newspaper, they look at you and they say, hey, he's not a real journalist. She's not a real journalist. She's talking about sports. I reported on everything from people being killed, to rapes. I broke a story that was on 60 Minutes about a USC football recruit allegedly raping a high school student, and he ended up going wrongly to jail. He went to jail. It was a 60 Minutes report. He spent many years in prison because she made the story up. All right, that's serious stuff. And this impacts people's lives, and there's a great interest there in sport. But because it's games that center around, people look at it as that. And so I think we need organizations like this to give. And what happens is when you have those attitudes in the field, they translate to academia, right? Where the attitude is, oh, you're just researching sports. I once had another professor tell me, lady, she was teaching like English, Shakespearean stuff, and she said, you teach what? And she goes, you don't look like you're a professional athlete. How would you think I should be a professional athlete, be able to teach sport media? That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Should you be a professional poet? And that kind of stuff. But that attitude is there. So as long as it keeps growing and building and tying in the field, it gets more respect, and then you eliminate some of those stereotypes. You're always going to have some of them because it's sport, but you deal with those. You try to eliminate by showing we're a real organization, a real field.